I can turn around.
Okay. I don't have to be. Anyway, good morning, everyone. So here we are at our February meeting. Let's see, I'm going to just announce that even though it's technically not spring, I want it to be spring. And so we're almost through winter. So this is almost our spring meeting, our first one. So anyway, welcome everyone. And let's see, what I thought we would do just quickly in a moment is just do a roundabout introduction so we all kind of know who we are. Anybody who's a guest or a visitor can identify themselves.
Greg, 37 GFW.
87 LVS.
So, and Greg is our treasurer. Sorry, Greg.
And I'm the 87X, and we even brought even more. No idea how it works anymore.
Bruce, the I-7L, and I'm just got to finally remembered after Frank told me about the meeting, and I was a member way long ago, far galaxy far away.
So you've known Frank a long time.
Yeah.
So maybe you can tell us a few things.
I got $5.
Well, welcome. Nice
Yep.
to meet you.
Nice to have you here.
Frank, I-7L. By the way, Bruce is next president.
Oh, wow. An ex-president?
Yeah.
Oh, when? Like what years?
Oh, heavens, I wouldn't know. I couldn't even get the decade right, probably.
Frank, what do you think? Maybe in the 80s?
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah.
Right.
Last century. I'm Cindy, KD7 KSH.
Frank, K7RSD.
Frank, did you introduce?
Yeah, I'm Frank, I-7L.
Go ahead, Barry.
Barry, K7PAL. And Eric, W7FCL.
John, KI7Y, right?
In person.
I'm Dave, AA7XX, training officer.
And I'm Ron behind the camera.
Great, thanks, Ron. Jonathan, KK7PW. So let's see, so a couple of things. First off, so everybody's aware that Eric and Ryan have been leading Nick and I on a conversation with the Pacific Science Center. And Eric, I thought maybe just if you could just give a nutshell of what this initiative is, because I think it would be of interest. Sure.
So ultimately, you guys don't hear me? Ultimately, the goal that they have and why they reached out is they want to do an ISS astronaut contact. And the best way to do that is to partner with a local amateur radio club. So that's what the Pacific Science Center reached out to us for. They have a maker space there, so they also want to do something where they're leveraging the skills to build something. And the core skill they wanted to leverage was soldering. So in the course of our first discussion, there was a whole bunch of stuff that was brought out about what you can do. You know, it's the first time you talk to a hand, you can't get them to shut up. And that was kind of true for all of us, I think. But anyways, we were very excited about the opportunity. So I followed up and said, what do you want to do to make this concrete? And I gave her some suggestions. So we're going to do that tomorrow. We're going to go over and show how the tape measure Yagis work. I think you guys have all seen that PVC pipe with links of tape measure that's attached to it. And we're going to teach her how to build that. She has acquired all the equipment. They've got the soldering stations and everything. So we're going to teach them how to do that. Teach her how to do this. We're just teaching the educator now. We're going to do a direction or a fox hunt on the property so she can see how this could be used after a student or a kid builds an antenna. But then the third thing we're hoping to do is to use a handheld radio and a Yagi, a dual band Yagi, to actually talk through the repeater of the ISS, just to make it more real for them to understand what this is. I think they're still struggling to figure out what elements of ham radio are going to work or not work here. In fact, one of the things that they gave us was a big contract for as a service provider to them, which is not what we're doing here. We're volunteering our expertise to show them what this stuff is. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. I'll report back. A couple things we did learn about working with the science centers. If you do want to work on anything, you need a background check. Fairly straightforward. They just look up your social security number, make sure that you're not wanted or whatever other things that I don't know about. But so that would be something if we're going to go on site help. But they are eventually going to have a station, a fairly robust station, and Dave can explain it, plus a backup station if they're going to talk to the ISS. They want to have 100 watts, they want preamps, they want rotator controlled beams and everything else like that. So much more involved. But they're just putting a proposal together now. They don't even have it. Any questions on anything I shared?
That's great, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks to you and Ryan for taking the lead on it. And if my memory serves, then after this initial sort of homebrew antenna building issue, then you're looking potentially at scheduling some other sort of multi-event, something to actually work at the space station.
Yeah, it's if they do proceed with doing the ISS application to the ISS. I would like to offer up the hand support of the station, get them set up for that, but that becomes a lot more involved. I would gotta find a place to put an antenna, and I would want it there for at least a month to guarantee we're good at working on the equipment. There's a lot of pieces to these things. In fact, if I ever miss a satellites, because I had some wrong set of my equipment, 6 minutes, satellites go overhead, I would not figure it out. So, that's gonna be more involved. I don't know what that is. This is really an introduction because they don't have no clue to what this is. They just want to get a little bit better understanding. She's also very interested in getting her license, so we set her up with a couple of passes for that. I did let her know because she thought that the training class that Dave offered was a 6-month weekly class. Like 6 months weekly, you're gonna get a double extra. So anyways, we got her set up with the study. Just let her start. She's got some technical background, so I don't think it'll be that much. But this is a fairly low level educator at the civic science. So we still need to work our way out through the organization, find out who we can talk to for various approvals if they do this. But this is going to be their project. We're just helping.
That's great. Thank you, Eric. And just so before we leave that part of the table, first off, I just learned that you may also recall that, I think it was last month, that Lauren had mentioned that her Eagle Scout proposal was under consideration. And without me saying further, Lauren, what is the result of that?
So I'm working with my Eagle Scout project proposal. So I'm in Scouting BSN, or formerly Boy Scouts, which I do refer to as is here for people to understand. But so the highest rank in Scouting is the Eagle Scout. He has
Probably a few people here too.
so it's one of the requirements to get an Eagle Scout is an Eagle Scout project, which is basically like finding a service project that would benefit your community and carry it out. And I have to start writing a proposal. So I recently got that approved like a week ago. Monday. So now in my project, y'all are gonna love this. There's a radio station at my high school. So one of my biggest I go to Braithwaite Aviation High School. So kind of a nerd.
And why is your teacher interested in this? Give them a little color.
So my freshman science teacher, Mr. McComb, he went to a specialized like ARRL training for like licensed teachers. So he had a license. And he's very invested in radio, and he's very invested in this radio station.
You're going to build one that benefits the school and it's going to stay.
Yeah, I'm building a station to help like for the school because they do a lot of like stuff with radio. They've done a lot like weather balloon launches, and they love doing work with radio. And I think having a station there would help benefit students and teachers as well. So if you either wanna help volunteer, I'll get dates figured out. If you wanna volunteer with help building the station or help designing one or testing, you can let me know, or if you have any materials you'd like to donate, you can also let me know.
So Lauren, first off, congratulations on getting. Fantastic. And then when do you see this project being completed?
5 more.
Okay, so about 3 or 4 weeks now. before we go. And you also mentioned that your school is located near the Boeing employees.
It shares a parking lot.
It shares the parking lot with Boeing, and it's near to their station. Is that right? Yeah. So Eric, I don't know, one of you had said that in order for there to be a connection with the Bears station, there needs to be someone who's a member, who's either a retiree or a current employee of Boeing, to facilitate some connection between the school and the Bears station.
Yeah, Bears is a Boeing employee club. We have 5 annual radio clubs in Boeing, based on location along with St. Louis here. But to be in the club, you have to be a Boeing employee, former employee, or retired. As such, the club has an aged membership. They don't have very many young people in it. And the school can't leverage that station. It's a very robust shack. You've got to see it's 2 or 3 shipping containers, generator, solar power, crank up, stepper antennas, all sorts of great stuff. But it's only used, I've only seen cars there, I think, a dozen times over the 6 years my kids have been to school down there. It's very infrequently used. But if we have anybody in the club that has worked for Boeing, who? Okay. But, and you're willing to help make some connection there, that might be.
Yeah. Yes, let me just, so the ask here, the reason why I was raising this is because I was aware that we have some Boeing folks here. And so in order, my mind went to how can Lauren's initiative not only create a station at the school and perhaps build some capacity with the teacher, too, but also to try to facilitate a reconnection with that Bears station. But we need some entree. I'm wondering, is there anybody here that knows anyone affiliated with Bears that we could somehow help that along?
The guy who used to run, Home Academy, and I can see him, and I can hear his voice, I cannot think of his name. He's all over the place, getting people in.
And this would be longer term than just this project. The Lauren graduates, goes to Wazoo next year, and they asked, what can I have in terms of support long term? And I would like to envision that if we've got schools in the area that have ham radio stations, that have teachers that are educated using it, and they're using it for APS, and they're using it for WinLink, and they're doing things like that, that if they have any questions, they could contact us, and we could find a volunteer to go down and help. I know I'm not leaving the area, so I'm happy to make that commitment, but things like, hey, the radios need this firmware update, I don't know how to do that. Those are frequently done things.
Is it Balar? Balar?
Yeah, yes.
If there's a club contact that is related to Boeing, I'd like to make the ask of them. You know, anybody that's at
I'm trying to figure out which
our club, or that might have a connection into Bears.
Well, I would call Greg. You can call Greg. I mean, that's what I mean. Greg has seen every single one of us for multiple years.
Okay, great. I'll reach out to you and Barry.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah, I think that introduction would really help. Great. Well, so that sounds like a great project, and anything that we can do to help, support and facilitate, let us know. And keep us posted. That's great. Let's see. So something else. So Nick, we were chatting offline that it was Nick or Greg, but we have a time-sensitive decision to make about the advertisement for Puyallup, whether or not we're going to get in on that this year. So either of you, anything more to say about that, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if we want to do a table at the Mikey.
No, this,
talking about
It
the,
can be both, but the advertisement I was referring to.
I'll start with the advertisement. Every year, Mike, he publishes a local, what they call it, radio almanac, or just radio resources in the Puget Sound area that run in clubs, theaters, this type of thing. And for the last several years, we ran an ad for W7AW in that publication to kind of help support their efforts. The ad runs $100 for a quarter page or half page slot. And the ask would be that we spend that $100 again this year. I think it's a good cause. I think we're in a position where we can afford that. And it goes to supporting local radio, the Puget Sound area. We already have the artwork with the proposal would be run the artwork we have from last year because the no-go is due today or tomorrow.
It's the lighthouse graph.
Yeah, it's a lighthouse. I can.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
sure.
like-
Anybody might, you want to see it.
It's a lighthouse down by Alki. It's a picture of that that fades into information about our club, the website, the repeater frequencies we have. That kind
And one of our members is a docent at the lighthouse. I'm just saying, if you ever go down there, it's an excellent tour.
You talk a lot.
So yes, so we want to ask the question,
Ron, what lighthouse is he talking about?
Alki Lighthouse.
You heard me. Check you out. All right, Alki. Thank you.
Yes, so go down there and will give you a personalized tour
Sundays.
on Sundays. It's terrific, really.
When does summer start?
Someone starts officially Memorial Day to Labor Day. That's right how summer.
Bill, what do you do on Mondays?
I'm at the docent, the music flight. So I see the bears all the time. We're doing work on the.
Okay,
So
so,
that's the advertisement, and the ask is today, I told him I'd get back to him today or tomorrow on the decision of whether the club wanted to run the ad again this year.
okay, so I would just like to say, I think we should do it, and support anybody else not think we should do it. I mean, any,
Could you repeat the dollar amount?
$100.
Oh, no problem.
so it's $100, yeah.
Not only are we supporting them, but it's supporting ourselves because it gives us an exposure.
Yeah,
That's a
Very
very,
motion that.
Yeah, how about we have a motion to approve?
I think so. I have a motion.
Do I hear a second?
second.
All in favor? Okay, so you're good to go on that, right? And then related to that, Nick, was the question of do we want to have a table there?
Yeah, and Ron.
Yes, Ronnie.
I just want to mention, I'm not going to put myself on camera because she can hear me. I'm getting a table and I only have a few things that I'm going to put on the table, which means the other 6 feet is available for use by the club. Just as long as you put a label on the items, like with the masking tape that easily be taken off. So we know when I collect the money, I know how much money goes to the club.
All right. Oh, yes. Good.
I brought a copy of satellite ground station setup that the request people have for an International Space Station contact that I thought people might find interesting. Ron, if you want to just focus, put it on the table.
Well, when he says that, I remember one offer I made it before, and several people got to me with, and I paused it over the winter, which was to go to a park when there's this ISS pass over during the more awake hours. And that's coming up in the evenings for us, so there's an opportunity for us to do that. I'll send a couple opportunities out. Do it from Hiawatha or Lincoln Park, wherever.
So if I could, I just want to stay with the Puyallup Hamfest just for a moment before we segue to.
Sure.
Hold on 1 second. So thank you, Ron, for the offer of half the table. That's terrific. And so obviously I'm hoping we can put some of our club materials there and have that offer some visibility. We also, there's an open question as to whether or not we have any interest in raising some funds by way of selling any equipment that's in our storage facilities. So I'll just say to you, for example, we have what is at the moment an untested, so let's assume it works, but we don't know, an SB 221, I think it was, an SB 221, which I think is 80 through 10. We don't want 80 through 15 at a kilowatt, presumably. So we have that. We have some other pieces of equipment that we could somehow get there and see if it would move. We might raise $1,000 or something, depending on what it is. But I suppose what we need to do is just have, is there anyone that has thoughts about us not selling that equipment, or should we just hang on to it? It hasn't been tested. It needs to potentially be worked on, be tested. And us holding on to it would be sort of along the lines of having it available for members of our club or field events. And I just want you to know, we don't really have anybody banging down the doors wanting to borrow equipment that we've had on hand for a number of years. So there's no need to rush and move this. But we do have space now at Puyallup for us to put it on a table and see if we would sell and move and generate some funds. So anybody have any thoughts on that? Go ahead.
I just offer up, if it's sitting collecting dust, nobody's gonna use it. Especially if it's older equipment, and somebody might find value in if they're a collector of that older equipment. You get this opportunity once a year. I know I just recently sold some old gear that I had on eBay, and they moved really quickly, and made quite a bit of money to go buy my radio, more up-to-date one with temperature controls, things like that. So I'd offer up anything that we have that's collecting dust, take it down and see what you can do.
Anybody else thoughts on that? Right.
Yeah, the SB 221 was, with the, he's been made with compliant with the FCC rule of control operation for 28 minutes. But he did have a kit, mod kit for all licensed amateurs with small trucks. Many of them had that installed.
Maybe it is.
Especially the band track.
It's in beautiful condition, it really is. It was in a closet for 25 years.
There's gonna be passengers.
Yeah.
The voltage is going to be huge. Housing. I think you might want to consider selling housing spaces unless somebody is ready to work around that high voltage. Whether or not the capacitors can pull up on you.
Excellent point. Yes, Frank first, and then.
Anyway, that's, your amplifier sent you a copy of that.
Yeah.
Oh, say again?
Your 922 sent you a copy of that.
Oh, it's a copy of it. Is that right? All right. Well, thank you. It's a good.
Yeah, I agree with Eric.
Fire portable, small, but we can't actually run fast. Like a giant set, takes it, but.
Yeah. And even some of the older rigs, even if they work, they don't have all the features that a contemporary rig would have. Not that that's a deal breaker, but it's a different learning curve.
Yeah, I'll just point out that, selling this stuff liquidates it so that we can spend the money either on a new radio that somebody might want to borrow, right? Or other club activities, emergency preparedness, field day, club picnic, anything, right? So getting that value out of this hardware that doesn't seem anybody's interested in and into cash allows us more flexibility to spend that money where we think it's most useful.
So just going forward logistically, so Ron, let me just ask, so if, let's say, we were to go forward with selling some of this equipment, would we be able to put that in the back of your truck and then with other hands, with hand trucks, there would be assistance to get it from your truck to the actual table, but could you facilitate actually getting the equipment there to the parking lot or something?
Yes.
Okay, so you'd have space for that, because it's not that big of a pile, but there could be 10 or 12 items that we would want to bundle.
And that goes for anybody in the club. Like, for example, I took some stuff down to Quartzsite for Frank. 3 items went down, 2 items came back. So if, for example, Frank wants to send those other 2 items back down to Mike and Key, I'll be glad to do that. Or it goes for anyone else that's got equipment. As long as it's labeled and I know who the money goes to, I don't care.
So I created a list of a guesstimate valuation. Obviously, those numbers can change and as negotiated. So I don't remember the top of my head what all of that added up to, but you know, we have $1,000 or more, especially with an amplifier, you know, that can bring a rich chunk of change. So that could be a nice complement of revenue to that which we're not getting so far. A little bit, but not much. So great. Well, thank you for that, and we'll sort of close the loop on this and figure out a way to, at the least, Ron getting you met up with Ryan at the storage facility, and then we'll figure out, you know,
The Friday prior works.
and I can help do it. Anything else on that? Is that good? So let's see, Nick, anything else that we want to talk about today?
Yeah, we're still continuing to do mesh meetings on the second Thursday of every month. We open up the line at 7 o'clock for chit chat until about 7:30. Then we record the meeting. But we talk about all things mesh, and that doesn't mean just West Seattle Club mesh. That means the entire Pacific Northwest, and lately it's been as far south as Portland and as far north as Skagit Valley. So other people are getting interested in mesh, and what we decided to do is that if you have a mesh unit, a TP link, a microtick, anything, motor, if you have a ubiquity antenna on a Rocket M2 or whatever you have, turn it on and put it up. Turn it on and put it up and leave it up for about 7 days if you can. The idea being, what we're going to try and do is walk through the entire network and see who can see who. It's called a network crawl. CRAWL. And then we'll line that out and find out who can talk to who and where we have our holes and where we have our hot spots. So it's something that you as an individual can do without too much effort. Just turn on your mesh.
I arranged the invitation to the Zoom mesh, and it comes up 3 p.m. the day before. And if you're not on the Groups.io, you can join Groups.io, or I can add you to the BCC list if you want to directly to the email.
And that was John Walling who said that, Trish.
So what direction would be, and I know we're all different places, but is there kind of a preferred direction to point our equipment?
I can say eventually we want to have Providence Mount St. Vincent be a key location. So if you have not yet put that up and you want to try and connect in the long run, I'd say aim something at Providence Mount St. Vincent.
Right, and I'm still running that tunnel on the west side of the bluff.
You're an important
Okay. I'm not unplugging. All right. I'm gonna flip that.
So if you're on the west side of the spine of West Seattle, then point it toward Jonathan's QTH, which is just a look. Okay, there's nobody down that way.
Well, there was
See.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I can kind of get the tower and see what.
In the Lincoln Park area, you'd be better going for the tower on Myrtle Reservoir. And if anybody has heard from Steve, just pass along our well wishes. We'd like to see him come back to the mesh fold.
Right, so Nick, anything else?
I think John, did you talk about your microphone?
Well, it turns out that Ron is doing such a great job I don't know that it's that useful. But if for some reason you wanted to have two dedicated speakers, presentation, and perhaps allow them to move around, this is a $27 deal, and it has a receiver and 2 transmitters, and I've tested it out, and it seems to work pretty well. And so if you have a situation where you have dedicated speakers and you want them to have mobility to walk around, and then these little lapel microphones will work really well.
That's great. And I think we should keep that.
For whatever reason, our needs. And I'm not saying that they're on the Zoom now, right? Because I don't think we've got one person on the Zoom. But I think as we think about having more and better content at the club meetings, we should think about how we include people who are not able to cite. And something like that seems like really, especially if there's like an actual presentation.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, what I was hearing John describe is a resource for us in the moment so that they can hear better.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah. So like if Dave is giving a talk or something like that, we should have him like that.
Right. Oh, yes.
Because have a virtual meeting suitcase. It has a Yeti microphone, speaker, projector, blah, 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 blah. So as long as you can provide your own computer, it picks up pretty good with the Yeti, and then the speaker is exceptional. Thanks to Ron's shopping habits. So we can just borrow that from us.
All right, that's
Little
great.
JBL Bluetooth.
Great. Well, thank you, John. That's terrific. Appreciate the offer.
This thing that John brought is only $27. And the nice thing is you can get a lapel mic, within inches of the speaker. So, that's a real advantage with something like this.
Right. By the way, before we segue back to Nick, Dave, I didn't mean to cut you off earlier about you. So just in a nutshell, tell us what you brought.
Yeah, well, so in terms of satellite communications, you actually don't need much. The ones I've done through crossband repeating through satellites involve just a 5-watt handheld radio and a handheld directional antenna that you're pointing approximately in the direction of the satellite. It's remarkable how little equipment you actually need to make this work, or to send an APRS signal through the digipeater that's on the space station. But for an ISS contact, obviously they want something more that's more solid. And so I brought this along that people can look at. This is what they recommend. So for the primary, they recommend 2 stations, one as a backup. The main one involving a circularly polarized antenna. And the idea with that is on the space station, they have a monopole antenna. So it's a linearly polarized antenna. The problem is, with spacecraft, they're constantly changing their orientation with respect to us on the ground. So you can easily end up with the wrong polarization on the ground. And rather than having to try to figure that out, using circular polarization, you don't need to. You lose 3 dB in the translation between the two, but that's it. You just point the antenna in the direction. You don't have to worry about polarization. So that's the idea with the circular polarization. They want a fairly high gain antenna with a rotator, both azimuth and elevation. Preamplifier, if you have a long cable run, they recommend a preamplifier to get the signal back to your transmitter. 50 to 100 watts of transmit power. Computer controls, you need to adjust for Doppler shift. So they want the radio that you're using to have in memory 1 kilohertz shifts in frequency that you can just do as it's coming at you and then overhead and then going away from you to adjust for Doppler. And then as a backup, just a simple station with 50 to 100 watts or even more if you can, and just a monopole antenna to keep it really simple in case your main setup goes haywire on you. And that's what they recommend. It makes a lot of sense. It's interesting to me. The other thing that you can do with the International Space Station is do a contact, get the term they use here, it's telebridge. You know, so you can directly contact the station yourself for one of these events. If you don't have a good view of the sky or the right equipment, you can also do what they call telebridge, where they provide you with an internet link to some other ground station. It'd be much more interesting to do a direct link though, and assuming the Pacific Science Center has a decent view of the sky, I think that's what we ought to try to do, if they're approved.
That's great. Well, thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. It's a nice organization. So, Nick, anything else? Oh, Greg?
We need to talk about insurance. We need to do that.
Yes.
Do you want to do that amongst all of us? Or?
I mean, I think we can approve and the board can take it up, but we need to have insurance and I think it's $300.
Right, so every year we get insurance from the ARL, it's a ham radio club insurance that helps us with liability and kind of stuff like that. It's normally included in our yearly budget, so we vote on these things all at once. But unfortunately, we're not going to have a yearly budget until our next board meeting, which is the 28th. But our insurance is due on the 25th, so a few days from now. And so just because of that, I'd like to bring that up for vote, so I can go ahead and cut them a check. And we do it on February 25th.
Board members.
The board purchase insurance.
What's that?
I knew the board purchase insurance.
Yes, I would like to accept
I
that
don't think
motion.
this is something that's not quite optional.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, good. So all in favor? All right, let's do it. So,
Thank you very much.
all right, thank you.
By the way, I think you have a quorum on the board.
Right. So let's see, the last thing I want to mention, there may be other topics, but two things. One is, you may be aware or not, and that's okay, that this morning, actually starting yesterday, but throughout today and into tomorrow afternoon, is the annual ARRL DXCW contest. And for those of you that do CW and those of you who don't, and get in on it, it's a great contest because the exchange is very easy. It's just a signal report, a 599, and your state. And then you have to hear and basically record the power level of the DX station. So it's usually, not always, but it's often a K or KW for kilowatt or whatever their power level is. Point being is that I set for a mini goal for myself by this morning to achieve 10,000 points. And I got it 5 minutes before I left to come over here. Europe was lit up, worked well into the South Pacific. Propagation is very good. So anyway, I mentioned that simply to say that if you're at all interested, it's going to be on for another 24 hours or longer. And it's great fun.
You down on 40 or where were you?
I was on 20. I'm running 20 meters single band. That's the category that I'm going to run. And for the DX, for the CQ Worldwide, I came in, I want to say like 5th in the country, 2nd in W7. I forget what that's, but if you narrow the range of who else is playing in your sandbox, then you have a chance of winning. And that usually works to my advantage because I don't have a power station. But if I make it real narrow, then hey, I won it.
A lot of people go between bands and stuff like that.
Yeah, they mix up bands. There's a whole range of different ways in which you can play in these contests. But so I'll mention that simply to say that for this or any other contest, if anybody ever wants to get on the air, and you want to come by my station, you're more than welcome, and we can tag team on it and figure it out. But I also want to do a little show and tell because I also won a prize, and that is this past year was the SSB Sprint. So this is the annual sideband sprint, and if you score 1,500 points or more, which translates into about 40, 50 contests, you are eligible to win a t-shirt. And I've done this for I don't know how many years, and I finally won a t-shirt. Right? Just in time, because you need to replenish your wardrobe every now and again.
All that money spent on radio and antennas,
Not even.
Yes, you know, you get a t-shirt. But the thing about the sprints is that it's only 4 hours, right? So it's, gosh, what was that? It's 5 to 9. And it runs across multiple bands, and this one's the side band. They have a CW one as well, but it's only 4 hours. And it's the way that a sprint works is that you call on a frequency, and when somebody responds to your call and you make that contact, you then move off to another frequency and they take over. So you can only have one cue on each frequency, and then you got to keep moving. It's a sprint. So there are some tricks to doing that well and doing that efficiently and more easily. But it is fun. And so if anybody ever wants to do that, I think the next one's coming up in April. So
relay race.
yeah, it's like a relay race. And I want to say that the turnout for this is not like one would get from other contests. I mean, there's a couple hundred people that do this across the country and some international. So it's not intense in terms of the numbers of people involved, but you can still get that score and you can still be eligible for a t-shirt, and it's a lot of fun. So
There's a lot of club members too. My favorite part is figuring out K7SS, KK7PW, K7SS. Oh, I got that. How many can you get in the log? How many? It's particular thing.
yeah, and the good thing is that you get to, if you want, if you're interested, you get to learn not only about how to do the contest, but you get to learn how a logging program works to actually record it. You learn how to distill your proposed score, has to be approved, and then where to upload that and get it verified. So there's some pieces to this that are invisible that you can learn about. So if anybody ever wants to do that, not just that one, but any others, you're more than welcome to join me if I'm planning to be on the air, and we can tag team on it. There's others around. Okay, so that's all I was going to share with you. Anything else before we sort of close the business part of that? Yes, John.
I guess,
I'm going to make, excuse me. I want to make a pitch for Ron. He's going to be April, so he can't cover the Zoom. I do kind of a backup for him, but I'm the bare minimum in terms of a backup. So if you're into the mesh business and you're interested in helping Ron with cover the
Hosting,
then let Ron know about that so he can get you up to speed. This is John. Yes,
Okay.
Nick, you're gonna say? I was gonna say, the group IO, not signed up for the group IO. There's a lot of traffic there and a lot of information about the club and events and stuff that's going on. We had a long conversation about the Pacific Science Center things and things. So I think that the group IO is a great place to go to get information. I just want to share that.
So groups.io, you can use your own email. You don't have to use a WSARC email for whatever reason. Don't use that. You can use your own, and then all of a sudden you can decide how much email or subscription, how much you want to see, and it can be none.
The one you're speaking about is W7AW group site. And by the way, if you know that the short handle, you can just get into that W7AW.groupsite.io. You don't have to know the long thing. The other one is Northwest Mesh. So that's for the Arden Mesh group. So that would be northwmesh.groups.io. And then if you sign up for that one, then you get on our list.
Great. Last thing I just want to mention is that thanks to Greg and Nick and Eric and folks that brought up their stations. So I think it's terrific for us to have HF presence, or just radio presence at our meetings. So I'm hoping that'll become a new norm for us in one way or another. And I don't know about next time we're up in the classroom. They have an event here. So in March, we're going to be meeting up in the classroom, which by the way has NR5W's rig that Kurt and Doug donated, and it's up there in a closet on the cart. But we may be able to use that. I don't know how much space and access to outside we'll be able to use for for this radio gear next time, but yes. Mike.
Yeah, the antennas are already in place on the roof.
So
A
just come back.
dual band UHF, VHF, and an HF CHA 250B up on the roof, vertical, but at least it's an HF antenna.
Yeah, so we could just connect the coax.
That's affirmative.
Right. So
So it
we'll
might be
do,
great to get the W7AW call sign on the air using the W7AW rig upstairs, right?
or one of these could be. You know,
Yeah, we could do that today, too. That'd be a lot of fun.
We can always add it to the center.
I think I have a lot to say. We have heard
Again,
something
John?
recently about the Windley project. Does anyone have any updates on that? Yeah, the Windley project.
I've been using it. Excited.
So,
I don't
we,
know what the story is.
So my understanding is that it's operational, it's at Brandon's QTH, and unless it's been fulfilled already, what we and they need, and we actually have items that could work. They need a 2-meter rig and a power supply in order to be deployed wherever that ends up, maybe high. But so it's operational, but it's not permanently installed yet.
and,
yes.
yeah, we do have a website for it, but it's the staging website. I haven't put it on the production website yet, but if you go to the staging website, which is staging2.w7aw.org, it's under repeater, it says WinLink, and you click on it, and it pulls up these graphs showing the activity on the that WinLink gateway.
Is there any reason that we shouldn't just push that out to the main?
Well, part one question has to do with the trustee needs to give approval, I think.
He gave verbal approval.
Okay, if somebody wants to give me the green light, I will push it over to the production.
The new page, you can see all the call signs that have been using it, see signal report, you can see.
So I'll give you the new, as soon as I get over there, I'll notify you.
So just one question that I just want to ask here is that of the equipment that was recently donated, there was a Kenwood 7800, which is a 2-meter VHF only, which I actually hadn't had a chance to talk with Brendan or Ryan about this directly, but my thought was that if that could work for them, we have one to offer. So there's nothing, so I just want to put that out there. Does anybody have any reason why we wouldn't want to just donate that to our own Windlink code? I mean, rather than try to sell it for $30 or something.
Is there a better radio we would want to improve performance?
I mean, this is
There's
free.
always a better radio.
Well, I just didn't know I didn't know if there was a more industrial one or we could repurpose a little bit or something that would be more ruggedized versus. I don't know. I don't know what the setup is.
Do we have any other alternative?
We don't have any in our collection, and we would purchase. And maybe that's something we want to do. But my thought was it's either free or it's.
If it doesn't work, then you can look for purchase or something.
Yes, Barry.
Yeah, Jonathan, I have a CPM 1250, which is very good. Reports out the discriminator and all the reports you need out of the
Wow. Okay. Well, that's great then. So I think that's it. So we need to get word to Brendan and Ryan, and then Barry, somebody could help program it to the frequency that we need. Is that how that works? There's software that we program? Barry?
What was that?
Yeah. Would you or Tom or somebody be able to program that?
Yeah, I've got all the programs,
Okay, great.
easier program.
So let's, oh yeah, go ahead.
That's a 40-watt radio.
Okay, one thing and then I'll get. So let's make sure that Brandon and Ryan are aware of that so that we can act on that, so that even though we can go forward with green light on the site, whatever needs to happen from Brandon's QTH to the final installment, we can do that. You know.
I'll get started.
All right, great. All right, thank you, Barry. That's terrific. Go ahead.
remember that exercise we had here, that full day when we brought in Winley, reminded me, I better announce this. Winley, I am safe messages. So we're gonna have another training on April 7th, which is a Sunday at the Red Cross, from 1 to 4 for the radio people. The hub captains will be there from 1 to 3, taking messages and passing them to the room that has the radio people. So it'll be like an actual, incident, right? No contact between the two groups necessarily, passing messages in. Same format as before, so if you are a confident WinLink operator, please come, because we have people who want to learn. The more homers we've got on that topic, the way better. And it'll be organized somewhat the same way. Here's your procedure, the new and improved procedure. It's the disaster, go figure it out. So it'll be a lot of fun.
What day again?
Sunday, April 7th.
Okay, and Cindy, can you get information?
Thank you, John. That's great, sir.
Just we just sign up or do we just show up?
Show up.
Do we need the entire period or just?
No, you can be there for this part of it, we just want you to learn the skill. And then last time people, said the first 15 and then they hung around and helped other people once they figured their stuff out.
And that's at the headquarters on Rainier. Nice radio room too. It's still there. I don't know.
Yes, it is. Bill's gonna be there, he'll probably take the people down who want to look at it.
Great. All right. So anything else for the good of the order? Good to go?
Gotta get on that contest.
Yeah. Well, there's, yes, Aaron. Just for good of the order, we're teaching another radio merit edge class, March 23rd. The only involvement I've offered up to the club, I put a message out, if you're around the radio that day, you want to talk to scouts and help get them a little bike right. Danny Escalante, KSMSS, is excellent at trying to pull them in to a conversation. So I will send information out that. So on the east side will be a Lakes and Interstate Park with a bunch of scouts.
Would you send it to John?
Yeah. And Eric's calling down now. All right, well, good to see everybody, and we will adjourn the official part of our meeting and try to get back on. Thank you very much.
Great meeting, everyone.
Okay, I'm gonna pause the recording until they get set up to do the little demos, and then I'll start it back up again.
Everybody, everybody had input.
Okay, we're gonna come over here. I forgot to record that session, but you got to see it, Trish. Are you operating? Okay, moving right along. Go back to Nick.
Okay. Do you,
Oh, and
does our, because I'm a member, I've been a member for maybe a couple months. Does the club offer classes on how to build and all that stuff?
Classes on how to build. We had a series of classes by Dave, our training officer, on how to build kits. But
Yeah, go boxes.
the best way to do it is to see it up close and personal, and maybe work with someone that's got it to be able to build it. I mean, I'm sure Dave will offer his class. In fact, his classes are online. They're YouTube videos,
Okay.
but and I'm trying to think. If you email John Walling, he can point you in the direction of those videos.
Are they on the Google Drive or something like that?
I believe they are, yes, on the shared drive for the club.
It was a lot of work.
What are you gonna do next to it?
Because I
Now I'm gonna try and do more operating. I've done lots of building,
There's only one thing I don't see in it. Well, there's two things, because Ryan Weber.
Dave Trish is online, and she's asking about the classes that you did prior to this. They were recorded and they're online where?
You can find them on our website.
I've always said every time I do it, like,
Our club's website.
That's a good idea.
If you go to Becoming a Ham and scroll down to the
Yeah.
bottom,
Yeah.
you'll see the lectures that I have.
And then if
Becoming
you,
a ham? I don't see it on the website. Oh, there we go. There we go. I see it now.
Yeah.
SIM card built in.
I've got it digitally.
And you have
for
to
the-
scroll to the
Is
bottom.
that the same thing?
Yeah, exactly.
You see
Ah, there
when,
we are. Yeah.
yeah. And make
Yeah,
sure it's the
text,
correct ones, for the current, years.
This has.
It
Okay.
should be on our website, but there is a way to link to old lectures. You don't want those. You want the
This
ones for the current
has
years.
its own, like,
Yeah, they happened here in the Salvation Army.
Okay.
Dave did a great job explaining the theory behind interconnection on the boxes and things like that, how to select the right battery for the right job and
Oh, wow.
all those things. Yeah, so watch those videos. And then I would say this fella here, Nick, your vice president, has really he took all that to heart and he built his own box. He's got everything self-contained. I don't know if I showed you this, but he's got a battery meter right there showing the battery voltage. But he's got a battery inside, and the only thing he's got hanging out the back is his antenna. This is not plugged in.
Wow.
And he did make some contacts earlier this morning.
I had to go through like two different, I wanted this to be so you can pull it out and access the ports and things. So I had to find like a quick release rig. I got it now. Yeah, I'm really pleased with that.
So you've got the big box version, then you've got the little bag version over here with Greg. So there's two opposite ends of the spectrum. Okay, it about does it for me and my battery.
Okay.
I'm
Hey,
down to
thanks.
66% with my
All
iPad.
right. Hey, thanks a lot for taking me around the room.
Okay, no problem.
I'll s-
Hope it was valuable for you.
Yes, yes. I know that the next event you guys are having is an Elmer breakfast. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make it then. But it's
Might be the first Saturday of the month.
right, and that's coming up in a
Yeah.
week or two on the second.
Yeah, and I would say the second Saturday is Mike and Key. You
Right.
should probably go to that if you can.
Yeah.
Mike and Key, you'll see a lot of folks that you haven't seen in a while, and there's tons of stuff to look at. They usually have pre-made kits, and then they have the equipment that you can make your own kit.
Oh, wow.
So-
Okay. Find out what I want and then look for it, huh?
That's right. That's exactly correct.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Ron.
All right, you're welcome. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
You know, if you do very little data, you can